On this episode of Real Frank Movie Reviews,
we review the movie Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, starring Jason Momoa, Patrick Wilson, directed by James Wan. Was Aquaman able to take DC out in a bang of this version before the James Gunn reign takes over? We'll get into all of that next.
Real Frank.
All right, please welcome back to the show, the Real Frank DC expert, Kevin. Welcome back, Kevin.
Frank, long time no see. How you been?
Fantastic. Now we have what they are calling probably the last DC movie of this mess.
Understatement.
Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Could you give the audience an overview of what the movie is about?
Aquaman is a dad and a husband. He has to team up with his brother, like Lethal Weapon 4, to take down a bad guy.
That pretty much sums it up, and then he's got a whole other thing. So going into this movie, did you have any expectations?
No. And so I want to go back. Did you see The Flash?
I did see The Flash.
And did you see Blue Beetle?
Did not see Blue Beetle. I just didn't have the energy for Blue Beetle.
So I made it halfway through that movie, and then I just stopped watching it.
Yeah.
Just because it got dumb. So I was very low energy coming.
Probably like most DC fans at this point.
Yes. It felt like it should have been like a 2.5 hour movie. They just crunched it down to 2. It still felt like an overly long movie.
It did, and I don't know, this whole thing getting your brother back out of jail. Again, I'm not too familiar with DC Comics. I am familiar with the DC superheroes, but never read the comics. My whole thing with the brothers reuniting to help save the planet Earth sounded like Loki and Thor a little-ish.
Watching this movie, I thought they tried to ape so many Marvel movies that I've watched recently. Like the whole Atlantis scene when they were down underwater reminded me so much of Ant-Man and Quantumania. Let's just show you all these CGI characters, all these weird things you've never seen before, and that wasn't working for me.
That's interesting you point that out because it felt a little Star Wars, Civil War-ish for me, a little Star Wars with all these characters, except it was all underwater. The one character that had man boobs, some fun bags, what was that all about, man? This fat, huge fish with these man boobies?
Yeah, I know.
That was weird.
The humor felt forced to me, too.
Yes, always forced.
I bet when I watched this movie, I felt there was like 3 main points, right? You had the beginning where you had Aquaman as a dad and a husband, and he spent all his time at his house where he's trying to, well, as you as the audience member want to connect with his baby. So when his baby gets taken in the 3rd act, you feel something. Did that work for you at all?
Be honest, the baby distracted me because the baby sounds were not lining up all the time with the baby's action.
Oh, okay.
So they're like, they're making goo 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 goo, and he's just like, so it's like.
Well, they were trying to make it maybe like super cute. So
yes.
You, like connected with it, but that worked against it, I thought.
Yeah, like you said, it's a very good observation there. It was like 3, starts off with Aquaman the Family Guy. Hey, he's just like all of us, except he saves the world at night.
It also I got a lot of Black Adam vibes. The middle part was the brother action economy theme, like a buddy cop movie, and that wasn't quite working for me either.
Yeah, so they don't like each other, and then you're right. It's like a bad buddy cop movie where they end up they get put together, right? Martin Riggs and Murtaugh, they don't like each other.
In especially that middle second, any opportunity they had Momoa to overact, they just took it.
The Black Manta, on his ship, they had that doctor, right? It cracked me up that it was almost like a sitcom because he kept walking in on Black Manta. It happened like 3 times. Black Manta has his door to his little suite in his ship, and Dr. Shin just happens to be overhearing or watching him talking to the mirror, or just walks in on him a couple times. It's like, oh, he's back again. You figure he would close his door and lock it.
It wasn't even funny, right?
No.
Did you even laugh on anything in the movie funny?
No, there was. The only thing I found funny was not intended to be funny was Aquaman's dad. Aquaman's dad sounded like when he talked like Jason Statham. During this filming, we heard all the stuff about what was going on personally with Amber Heard. How do you think they did with that?
You could tell she got cut out of the movie, but I was surprised she was in the movie as much as she was, right? In the beginning, when he was being this dad, you would see flashes of her. So it was a little weird, like it felt like he was a single dad, but then you would have his Mera come in at weird times. And half the time she wasn't even speaking, right? It was just showing her doing something. She would show up in the third act, and it's just weird how they handled her. They either keep her in the movie or cut her out.
Exactly. She wasn't in it at all until she has one line that says, something bad is happening. They need you down there. And then that was it. Up until that point, you never saw her doing anything. She was non-existent. She gets hurt, right? And I thought, oh, this is how they're getting rid of her. They're going to kill her off, and that's that. Or she's injured the whole movie. And then she reappears in CGI. She was more CGI'd than she was in normal format.
All the underwater scenes when they were talking and their hair was floating, it all looked like fake people.
Yes.
I don't know if they put some digital makeup on them to smooth out their lines in their face, but they all look like plastic people down there.
You know what's weird too, Kevin, is like, didn't they make this movie like 3 years ago? And they've been like editing it for like 3 years or 2 years or something ridiculous. And it still looked like that?
I think they had so many ideas and they wanted to make a shorter movie as possible. The flow was just choppy to me. It's just, the plan was weird, like overheat the world and cause all the ice to melt.
Once again, Hollywood shoving some worldwide message down my freaking throat when I just want to go into a theater and be entertained, forget about my problems and how effed up this world is. But no, I got to listen to 2 hours and 4 minutes of the planet is dying. We're gassing it. We're killing it. Oh, shame on us. All over and over and over. Stop it.
Right. The movie would have been 10 times better if it was just a Black Manta revenge movie.
Yes.
Not this whole, I lost agency because I got taken over by this mysterious villain we never saw before. Just keep it simple.
He didn't even look really good either. He looked really dumb.
Yeah.
Maybe this is what happened. This is my theory, right? They were working on this for 3 years, 2 years, however long. And then the news came out that James Gunn's taking over. And they're just like, fuck it. It's over for us, people. We'll just mesh this all together and put it out there. We'll get like 50 million because of DC comic book fans, and that should be good.
Accurate point, right? They should have ended the last movie should have been The Flash.
Yes.
Because that had an actual tie back to the first movie that ever came out, Man of Steel, right?
Yes. I'm probably one of the rare people that kind of enjoyed The Flash. I don't think it was that bad. It got a bad rep, in my opinion. Yes, the CGI was sloppy in a lot of the scenes, but the overall story I felt was very entertaining. How about you?
I enjoyed that movie quite a bit. I thought The Flash, he was enjoyable to watch, right? But you're right. I walked out of that with a positive feeling, which I did not walk out of that with Aquaman. What do you think about the 10 years of the DC movies?
Probably the best one, in my opinion, for the DC movies in the 10 period. Because we're starting what? You said Man of Steel was the first one, right?
Man of Steel was the first one.
And that's probably my favorite one.
What I liked about the DC movies, and they had issues at the beginning, they had a different vision from Marvel, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had Zack Snyder come in, love him or hate him. I do think he can bring a visual flair to his movies. So I love Man of Steel. I like Batman versus Superman, the ultimate cut. They should have kept their original vision, and it would have been not perfect, but it would have been different from what they tried to do.
They tried to compete with Marvel. It's stupid, right? Because I've always felt that DC always had the better characters, in my opinion. If they would have stuck with the Zack Snyder vision, I think he was headed to doing his own thing, making him a little darker. I think it would have been great. But people were too concerned with all the attention Marvel was getting. So they tried to use some of the blueprint from Marvel when creating their movies, and I think that was their biggest fail.
Right, and I know Zack Snyder's movies weren't making as much money as they wanted to, and that's the way they flipped it. But then you end up with Aquaman and Blue Beetle, Shazam, the second movie, where they all just tank, right? Because no one cares. That's what, like Black Adam, like you had The Rock come in, and he basically tried to take over the direction of DCU. That movie was horrible too.
Rock, Dwayne Johnson, my friend. he had ulterior motives. I think his was selfish motives, right?
Yeah.
He saw an opportunity that DC was a mess. His intention was, all right, I'll turn Black Adam into a huge hit. We'll do it my way, and then I'll take over DC. Like, they'll give it to me because Black Adam will be the biggest hit. His movies aren't that great. He's had a few with like Kevin Hart, you know, because they got good chemistry. They're funny.
Yep.
But when he does his solo things, they don't do too well. And he always banks on that China audience, right? The China people in China, he's huge and they love it. And they got billions of people. So that inflates his numbers all the time. When Black Adam came out, thank God this didn't happen because it would have been the same thing. It would have inflated his numbers. They were in a lockdown. I think they had another COVID outbreak when it came out. So it wasn't out there and no one could go see it.
Right.
So it killed his numbers. And it was a realistic view of how people here everywhere else in the world perceived his movie. But Black Adam was a shit show. He didn't even want to be in Shazam. They wanted to do post-credit scenes with Shazam with Zachary, and he was pissed because it makes no sense. Zachary, Shazam's arch nemesis, is Black Adam, and nowhere near are they tied together at all.
Yeah, I know.
And then you hear rumors about his ego, and he said he was too big to be in a credit scene and all that thing. And then he was more concerned about fighting Superman. Like,
Okay.
doesn't make any sense. Like, when I saw that Black Adam movie, the biggest reaction was when they showed Superman in the credits.
At the end, right.
Because they were happy. Oh,
Exciting part of the movie.
yes, because the people were like, oh, Superman, we love Superman. We're going to make another Superman movie. They didn't give a shit about Black Adam.
No.
It was a Superman. That's why if they would have made another Man of Steel, I think it could have potentially turned the tide if they put a decent product together. This is my concern with James Gunn because his stories are good, right? And he incorporates music, which I like, but he creates all these crazy characters and monsters and stuff. Like, we forget that he was making horror movies initially in his career.
Right.
And he brings that into these movies, which is fine, but doing that in DC, I just hope he's going to take a different approach. I'm going to wait and see, but I don't have a good feeling.
Don't think so. He's got a DNA to him, right?
Yes. How do you score Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom?
I would give it a 3.2.
Whoa, a 3.2? I think that's like your lowest score ever, man.
I think so.
How much do you think Guinness paid to advertise in this movie?
Oh, yes. Millions of dollars, I would say.
Boy, did they shove that Guinness down our throats, man. Like, woo, 3.2. I can't believe that. I'm quite shocked, Kevin. That's so unlike you. Usually you're pretty generous. You're sensitive. He's like, well, you know.
No, this was a slog to watch.
It was pretty bad. For me, overall, I give this the worst DC movie ever, a 1.1. This thing was trash. They went out in a bang of a dumpster fire. Awful.
Amen. What a horrible way to end something that had so much promise, right? And let's hope the next series of movies are actually worth watching.
It's almost fitting, isn't it? The way this whole thing ends.
100%.
Oh boy. All right, Kevin gives it a 3.2. I give it a 1.1. That's our review. Until next time, thanks for watching.
I'm taking shots to the heat. Now I can feel it in my teeth. I feel the lyrics start to seep. Out my veins like I bleed. Drop that bass on the beat for a minute. When I spit these words to the beat, no limit. I don't make no sense, I don't need no gimmick. I'ma say what I think, be real specific, and I'm after the chase. I'ma pass in the race. You could ask me the way.